Beanie Boy Society, historical events. The cleanup of the Great Sahara Desert, Operation Desert Dust Delete. Early in the morning, around 05:30, the task group Fondemni manned their assigned vehicle, the plum plane. They were actually given options between several types of transport, including the Clementine car, the Mango Mobile, the Honeyberry helicopter, and finally, the Tamarind tricycle. The initiating section of Operation Desert Dust Delete consisted of constructing a network of roads upon which the dirt was to be transported away from Western Sahara to the eastern parts of it. What was then supposed to be done with the dirt was not yet decided. Some high-ranking members of the society argued that an additional transport towards the middle in an attempt to distribute the dirt over such a large spread area that it was practically non-existent was the best solution. A theoretical analyst performed the necessary calculations and concluded that for the execution of such a plan, it would need to cover an area roughly equal to the size of the Sahara Desert, only a few percent bigger. A large amount of obstacles and challenges quickly appeared as Task Group Fondemni operated. For instance, the commanding officer, Brisquite, turned up completely wasted from a 10-minute coffee break on the third day. This quickly turned into his removal from the Operation Desert Dust Delete. However, that did not happen due to reasons which the reader might assume. Of course, the event was reported up the chain of command, which reacted by dislike and dismay. However, as the Master Beaner expressed his dislike over someone getting completely shit-headed in only a lunch break, and the lower bean shyly corrected him, saying, "Sir, it was during a coffee break," that the Master Beaner had a change of attitude. A brief moment of silence passed by on the intercoms before the response was heard. "Only during a coffee break? How long was this break?" He had had a change of heart, and anger had turned into curiosity. Getting shit-faced in 10 minutes or less seemed like an incredibly lucrative concept. Later that day, Brisquite left the Sahara Desert in a private jet and flew towards London. The operation continued throughout the following 2 years and was only a smudge non-successful, according to the society. They, however, concluded that a jolly good time had been had by all, and that the important thing was not the goal, but the friends they made along the way. Your greatest 10 minutes of the 21st century, the Brisquite Drunk. In the dust of Operation Desert Dust Delete, another project was born. The former chief of Task Group Fondemni was now a test subject in the society's most ambitious project since its founding, understanding and successfully replicating the Brisquite Drunk. Being schooled in the art of science and the scientific method in a multiple of disciplines, the society spent 2 weeks evaluating different approaches to the problem. Generally, the approaches could be written concisely as a mix of the following: chemistry, physics, psychology, or retardness. Each of these disciplines seemed to have a core idea connected to them in this project. The chemists found it appropriate to tickle his feet with lab equipment. The physicist opted for brute force, beating it out of him. The psychologists wanted to confuse him until he accidentally said it in some sort of Freudian slip, and the retards simply wanted to ask him what he had drinking and then measure the ethanol decomposition in the bloodstream as he drank the same beverages as before. Naturally, the main advocates of the different ways realized they had to cooperate to have their will, or at least part of it, through. Without the retard's knowledge, a plan was devised. These psychologists were to confuse the retards by asking them questions about their childhood relationship towards their mothers and fathers. Beforehand, the chemists were to have pumped the physicists full of speedo drugs, making them very aggressive and unstable. Then the physicists are to be told that the retards are talking about their mothers and fathers. And of course, the physicists would quickly sprint out to find out whether that was true. As the physicists approached the retard, hearing the words mother or father coming out of their mouths, the physicists would slung themselves at the retards relentlessly. Come Monday, week 3, the plan was set in motion. The chemists failed, in the sense that they injected all the good stuffs into themselves instead, being the addicts they are. The physicists started crying and all hid in the coffee room, being the wimps they are. The psychologists managed to attain a self-induced psychosis, thinking about their own mother. And of course, the retards did what they do best. Showing up in time for the voting of plan, as the geeks they are. Once the voting was through, the retard plan came out on top. And so it was decided. With the other members temporarily missing, no bureaucratic bullshit would stand in their way. After some tests, 3 major conclusions were drawn. 1. Brisquite had had quite a high pulse as he drank, which led to a quicker spread of the alcohol throughout his system. 2. His body was surprisingly inefficient at burning the alcohol, meaning it accumulated faster than it usually does for most people. 3. He had stuffed the bottleneck into his body butts and stood on his hand for a whole minute. Perplexing.